Hello, this is Dylan again with another video about Ticket Auction Manager. This one will be about how to set up the backend or the connected version of it. So first you'll need to set up a backend server. This will be the server that actually stores the actual database entries. Your endpoints are just going to have the front end file, which is the access database file, but the backend server runs MariaDB. So if you're on Windows, the best way to install it is to, you can pretty much look it up, but it's like mariadb.org, but you just look up MariaDB, and usually one of the first things that comes up is the mariadb.org. Then from this page you can click download. Then you'll want to change the version. So you usually don't want the alpha version because that's testing, and the RC version, that's the release candidate, is also somewhat like a testing version. So the 11.0.2, that should be production ready, and it selects Windows automatically because it pulls the user agent from my web browser. And you can click download and then you install it. Write down, if you have to, the root password that you set during installation because you'll need it later. Same thing goes for Linux. So I have a Ubuntu window open, so if you're going to run a Linux, or one thing I should add for the Windows version, you have to go into the firewall. Then advanced settings, then inbound rules, and click action new rule. You can try to find a program for MariaDB, whichever exe program is responsible for hosting it. But if I do port here, you can just enable, and by default it's port 3306 unless you change it in the installer. And that should allow the traffic in from the other computers on the same network, which is what you want if you want simultaneous entry. So on the Linux version, even though you can install a Linux version from here, it's kind of difficult because it's in an archive file and you have to extract it, build it, and whatnot. But it's much easier just to use your package manager. So on Ubuntu, I escalated to root just by using sudo -s and typing in my password when prompted. So you can do apt install MariaDB-server, and press the Y and then press enter. And this may take a bit depending on your internet connection, how fast your computer is that you're running this on. So now one thing I like to do is make sure it's enabled and started. So that means that's already enabled. So now I can just go start, and that starts it in the background. Keep forgetting I'm on Linux. So now you can do MySQL secure, so _secure _installation. If you haven't set a root password yet, you can just press enter here, and it uses a password, So I usually hit no on this. I'm actually not sure what Unix socket is. So we'll hit no. Then we're going to hit Y to change the root password. I usually remove anonymous user. Disallow root login remotely. This depends. So like if for some reason you can't get like file access to the computer that you are going to be using for the backend, and you have to run your installation script on like let's say a Windows computer, like one that you're going to be using as a front end computer, uh, you'll want to allow root login remotely. So you will answer N to this to allow root login remotely. Pressing Y to this will disallow root login remotely. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. I'm going to do it here because this is just like a kind of a test environment. I'll probably blow it away and start it again, because I usually just use this environment to build the backend installation script for Linux. Then I usually press Y here so that it removes the test database and access to it, and Y to reload the privileges table. Then the backend is set up and ready for the installation script now. So now we will go to my GitHub page. Ticket Auction Manager. Then in the sources, which is this, you can download the Python script if you prefer to run it that way. You do have to pip install mysql-connector-python for it to work if you just wanted to run it directly instead of downloading my pre-compiled version, which I use PyInstaller for. So down here are the assets. So these are some of the files that you may need. So Linux version, Windows version. You can see in the title Win64, that's the Windows version. Linux AMD 64, that's the Linux version. I'm just gonna, like in the last video, I'm just going to check this and then unblock. So in that way it should work all right. So now I'm just going to double click on this. It might take a moment to load. And where it says default, that's what we'll put in if you don't put in anything at all. So if I just press enter here, it would put localhost in. I do have a server set up on my network. So root. And it does check the permissions. If you don't have good permissions, it won't continue. So let's just do tam15 or something. And I'll also change the default username to the same as the database you put in. So I'll just do that. I'll just make the password tam. And user created successfully. All operations created completed successfully. So when you see these messages, everything is good to go. You are all set on the back end. And you can just use that user that you created to an ODBC connection. Now, the rest of this you have to do for each front-end computer. So you download the connected version and save, and we're going to click the folder icon, properties, unblock, just so it'll work. But the first thing you need to do is actually install MySQL. I like to use a MySQL ODBC connector or driver. So you just download the MSI installer version. I use a 64-bit because this is all 64-bit access I like to use. So then you download the 64-bit MSI installer and just install it. You do need admin privileges for this part. Then after that, you shouldn't need admin privileges. And all you gotta do is on your start menu, you type in ODBC data sources, and you want a 64-bit one. Then you would create ODBC data source. I'm just going to create a new one, so then that way I can show you guys how to change it, because it looks for one named Tam. So if you just want to use it as is, you don't want to change any settings in the access database itself, you can just put TAM in here for the data source name. I'm just going to put the 15 in there. You can put a description if you want, but you don't need to. Same username and password here. At this point, you can click test, and when you see this connection is successful, your user settings and server settings are good. And now you can just drop down, click the database you want, or that you set up before, and now you have this TAM15. So now when you open up the connected version, so by default just is going to read from the TAM15. If for some reason you need to change that, you can press F11. Then if you right click on one of these, you can go into link table manager, and you can check ODBC and click edit, and you can change this. So now that TAM15 is in, it'll use that database instead. And you can save this copy, and then you can distribute this copy among your front-end computers. So just to test it out, we'll do 1001 to 1020 set. And you can see how fast it is even using ODBC. Save, exit. And now if I go into my server here, and this Heidi SQL comes with when you install MariaDB on a Windows computer, it comes included with Heidi SQL. It's a nice little graphical database manager. So then I can go in and be like, well, oh, that's the regular TAM one. I forgot I put in a bunch of like test data that I generated using my stress tester, which is also my GitHub too. So that's all just randomly generated names. So yeah, regular tickets, you can see those items we just put in, and so that verifies that I was using the right TAM15 database that I created just by creating that or changing that data source name there in the link table properties. So that is how you use the connected version of Ticket Auction Manager. So if you do want to be able to enter from multiple computers simultaneously, this is how you set it up. So I hope this helps and this is informative. With that, like I said before, have a good day. I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.